Okay, we are in focus. All right, guys. Hey, it's been weeks, a month, over a month since I've been back, and I'm back with a question that I like to explore. In my time away, I've been thinking about my style of junk journaling, and it seems like the word that keeps coming back to me is minimalism and minimalist. And today we are going to talk about minimalism as a junk journal style. If you consider yourself as a beginner junk journaler or an OG, keep watching because together we are going to explore a less common style of junk journaling, one that favors white space, geometric shapes, natural materials and clean lines, all that good stuff. And hopefully it will inspire you to try something different the next time you sit down in front of your journal. So let's get into it. Okay, so there's a few ways of understanding minimalism. There is minimalism with a capital M, and there's one with a lowercase m. And the one we are most familiar with is lowercase minimalism. So let's start with that one. Lowercase minimalism is mostly used as a descriptor. Minimal, minimal, minimal. Minimal. So what we mean when we describe these things as minimal is that it's stripped down to its essentials and uncluttered. They often give off an illusion of cleanliness or sterility, elegance, natural, what's another word? Simple. And then there's another part of lowercase minimalism that we recognize as a lifestyle. So Steve Jobs famously wore a black turtleneck every day because he thought having a simple, repetitive wardrobe would free up his mind to make bigger and more important decisions. We also think of naturalistas that pick vegetables out of their own garden to make salads, or wear hygiene products that only have like 2 ingredients in them. We look at people like that and think that they live a minimalist lifestyle. So in this case, lowercase minimalism is about reduction and simplification and the natural. And then there is uppercase capitalized minimalism, which is an art movement that emerged in the 1950s. So many characteristics of this art movement is the antithesis of what we do in our junk journals. Specifically, the art that came out of this movement was non-biographical, rejected symbolism and overt emotionality in favor of using geometric shapes with mathematical precision and repetition. So when I was doing research for this video, I came across a comment that I think perfectly illustrates the difference between lowercase and capitalized minimalism. So the commenter said, "As someone who has studied theater, my perspective on the movement is a little different. Minimalist sets like those described in the work of Samuel Beckett tend to be more essentialist, using the fewest parts to evoke the maximum amount of meaning. It is interesting that in the world of visual art, minimalism is kind of a rejection of meaning." Notable artists in this movement like Frank Stella, Robert Ryman, and Tony Smith created art devoid of overt meaning. And that pissed a lot of people off. It challenged the way we understood art to mean traditionally. Instead of making art that reflected the human condition, like pop art or expressionism, the focus was on the characteristics of the materials and the precision of basic shapes. They used light, shadows, and physical space as a medium in a way that had never been considered before. In reference to the art, Frank Stella said, "You see what you see." Like, that white painting is literally meant to just be a white painting, not a reflection of your childhood trauma. People will look at this art and say stuff like, "Oh, I could have totally done that." But honestly, what makes this work interesting and challenging is the intentions behind it and the technical aspects to pull off a cube. A brass cube just sitting in the middle of the floor. So, getting back to the original question, can junk journals be minimalist? I would say, if I should so dare to share my humble opinions, that yes it can. Junk journals can totally be minimalist. And I think we can take a minimalist approach to materials, color, composition, and content. Okay, can you guys hear me all right? I hope so. Future Bree is either going to be really happy with the quality of this audio when I'm editing it, or she's going to hate it. So let's see what happens. These principles that I'm going to share are built around commonalities that I have seen between my work and other artists' work that describe themselves as minimalist. And of course, it's in tandem with the definitions that we just went over of what makes up minimalism. Ooh, I'm tired. This is the most I've moved around in a while. I was sick, so I'm getting a little winded, but let's check it out. Let's see. So the materials to consider to achieve a minimalist style, I believe, include a solid base page, unaltered found objects, and unaltered natural objects. Please note that I said style and not aesthetic, because your aesthetic could be anywhere from shabby chic to goth, but you can use minimalist style and approach to create your pages in whatever aesthetic that you have. So let's look at some pages that I think are using minimalist materials to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. Your junk journal pages don't have to be beige and white to have a minimalist color palette. In fact, I would define minimalist colors to include neutrals, pale hues, and monochromatic color scheme. So the idea with color is that it's about less and natural. Hence, pale hues are less vibrant, neutrals are natural, and monochromatic color schemes are variations of one color. And here are some examples of how those ideas can play out in a junk journal. The composition of minimalist styled pages is pretty simple. It favors hard edges like squares and triangles, white space, also known as negative space, because that doesn't mean that the page has to be white. It could be any color. Also, minimalist compositions favor repetition. And when you're designing your pages, the elements on it are typically lined up on a grid, a square grid, with lots of white space surrounding it or between the two elements. You'll often see collages either centered or left justified or right justified. But if your design has more organic shapes like torn paper or flowers, you can achieve a minimalist style by keeping the layers to a minimum of 1 to 2. Or just very few, if any. Content is in reference to what your page is about and how you articulate that through the pieces you use in your design. That includes text, images, and objects. An example of minimalist text would be either a title or a name, a short quote or sentence. Minimalist images often have just one subject within them, and objects are attached to the page unaltered or lightly altered, making them stand out in their natural state. My understanding of content in a minimalist style journal is kind of from the essentialist standpoint, where less is more. It takes less pieces of content to tell the whole story. And here are some examples of where I think that is working well. So all of this that I shared with you today is just theory. It's my opinion. I think it's a pretty well thought out opinion, but you know, I'm sure that there'll be people that will disagree with me, or maybe not. I am sharing this because I think it is worthy to look at different styles of creative journaling that are outside of the traditional junk journaling style, which is busy, which is cool. I love that. Um, but it traditionally uses a lot of layers, a lot of materials to build a page. And honestly, that's part of the reason and the allure of why I started junk journaling. I don't know. I'm in a weird phase in my life as I approach 30 where, and this is separate from journaling, but where I am looking for ways to simplify my life through just reduction. And it's hard for me as an artist to separate like my personal life from the art that I create. And it's interesting to me to want to explore that through the magic of junk journaling. I don't know, I'm so cheesy. But anyway, so I want to keep playing with that. And I hope you all found this video at least entertaining, if not inspiring, for you to try something different with your materials. Like, what would it feel like to be satisfied with a page that had only 2 pieces of your favorite paper on it? Thanks, guys, for watching. Thank you for coming back after my very, very long break. December daily content is coming soon. If you follow us on the Facebook group, I kind of gave a little like preview of what we're gonna do. We're doing a photo a day. I don't know why I want to be like all secretive of it. I'm taking a photo, a Polaroid photo every day in the month of December and collaging it. And the next video that I'm putting out, I will be binding a book, and it will be made of the materials that was sent to me by you lovely subscribers. Thank you so much. So that book will contain all of the goodies that I've gotten over this year. And yeah, I'm excited about it. Thanks.